Good evening. I'd like to welcome you here on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and the Public Affairs Committee for the Chamber. I'm Keith Kelly. I'll be moderating tonight. Our timekeeper will be Henry Mullinax. And so we're glad that you come out tonight to find out more from our candidates and for District 40 and to hear their views on some questions. Before we get started with a little bit of overview, we're honored to have the Mayor of Jacksonville here. And Mayor, would you like to say any words of wisdom?
Good evening.
That's how he won, right there. Let that be a notice that, keep it short and people like it. So, but no, we want the candidates, for you to get a good feel for the candidates and what they say. We've got the rules outlined here. There's a number of different things on here. I'm not going to go over all of them with you. The candidates, we've been over them with them. I am going to hit a couple of things there. As far as the audience goes, we are not going to have any shouting or chants or anything like that. We've had to deal with that. If that happens, we'll ask the officer to remove you. Let's keep it good decorum. Support your candidate. If you've already decided who you're voting for, is fine. But the questions, we're going to go as long as we've got some questions. To tell you how the questions were compulated, the Public Affairs Committee received questions, as well as the Chamber had them submitted online as well. Those questions were put together, and a three-group task force was put together to go through those questions and grade those questions. And then we had one that went through and took those rankings, and that's the order that the questions are in. So there was a lot of questions submitted, and hopefully we'll get through as many of them as we can tonight. The candidates will have a minute and a half on each question. If they call another candidate's name at the moderator's discretion, the candidate's name that was mentioned, if it was in something other than complimentary way, at the discretion of the moderator, the other candidate will have a minute to respond. Now that doesn't include, some of you that have been to all these forums, we've seen a number of the candidates actually compliment each other. So that's not anything derogatory, anything you need to respond to. So it wouldn't be allowed on that. And it's our discretion. We want things to be orderly, and we've got great candidates here, so we're not worried about that too much. But at this time, we'll get started. The candidates will receive a warning when the time is approaching, and then if necessary, we'll cut them short. Hopefully we don't have to do that. But and we'll open the questions, and we'll get started in just a second. Thank you. Also, the candidates will rotate. Whoever answers the question first this time, the person beside them will go next, so on and so forth. Our candidates this evening are Bill McAdams, Casey Cavender, Bill Lester, Chad Robertson, and Pam Howard. We're glad that you're all with us tonight and look forward to what you have to say today. So the first question will be for Bill Lester. The question will not be repeated unless absolutely necessary, so please pay attention. Unless we absolutely have to, in the interest of time, to try to get as many questions as we can. If you absolutely need it repeated, we'll do that though, okay? So the first question, Mr. Lester, Mr. McAdams. We've got a couple of bills up there.
We do.
Mr. McAdams, gambling has been an issue for several sessions in the legislature. Do you support casino gambling and a lottery for Alabama? If so, how do you ensure government oversight and control? Certainly not by setting up a commission that owns any portion of the casino. I guess that's a question and a comment there at the end.
We've been okay since 1819. Alabama's done pretty fair.
Is it on? All right. Yeah, I think we've done pretty good since 1819 without gaming or gambling. For me, my stance on that would be to, kind of focus on getting a job. And you could maybe treat your mailbox as a slot machine. And every time you walk down there and open the door on it, there's gonna be a check in there. So I don't see any need for gambling or gaming. It's really, it's designed to prey on those that need the money most. That's what it's engineered to do. As a general contractor, I build restaurants all over the South, and I go to cities that have gaming and gambling at casinos. And you can see what they do to communities. So my vote would be a no on gaming. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. McAdams. Ms. Carter?
I am opposed to casinos and a lottery in the state of Alabama with the way that our Constitution is currently written and the way that our laws are. Gambling is not something that we want here as a society. It brings drugs, it brings a lot of crime and a lot of poverty. And so, simply put, I would oppose gambling and a lottery as the way that the law is written right now.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Mr. Lester?
I just realized that I'm the only one on a microphone. Some of you may have heard this story before, but I won some money gambling once. You remember this one? Recently? A friend of mine, we were in New Orleans at a conference, and he noticed I wasn't gambling, so he gave me $20. And he said, "Hey Bill, I want you to go gamble." I put the $20 in my pocket, walked away, and said, "I just won gambling." I've seen the devastation that it can bring. I know that there's probably some different views about that. Personally, I don't believe that the state, by the state I mean government, should be involved in setting up gambling in any form. And we hear often that the arguments are that there's money there to be gotten, there's money there to be gotten. The money's fungible. If you are going to buy a lottery ticket, then that means you are not buying something else. It is something that is not the best way for economic development to take place within the state. So I would be on those areas.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Mr. Robertson?
Where we're at currently with gaming is that Alabama has to take a vote on it, the constituents, everybody in Alabama. I've been honest from the get-go, from the last campaign, that I would let the constituents vote on that. I think my job as a legislator is to make sure that that bill would benefit Alabama in the best way possible. That was a possibility. And the way we wrote the law, that no outside entities could come into Alabama. So that was a positive. I'm running out of time, but I'm short notice. Yes, I would vote for the people to have a vote if the bill was good.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Ms. Howard?
I too support putting a clean lottery bill on the ballot for the people to decide on. I do not want to see it mixed with other gambling. We are already spending hundreds of millions of dollars in Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, and Mississippi. If the money's being spent, I want to keep it at home for our use. Most of the taxes that have been cut come out of the Education Trust Fund. And with the CHOOSE Act taking off income limits after next school year, it's going to take more money out of our schools. Our public schools need to be funded and our teachers need to be paid. I think having a clean education lottery would be the way to do that without having to replace any of the taxes that have been lowered.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Our next question is, the Alabama Department of Transportation is an important part of Alabama's development. Yet the only oversight or appeal must go to the governor that appoints the commissioner. Do you support more oversight from the body, and if so, what would that look like? And I realize my microphone broke up. Did you all hear the question? Okay. All right. Ms. Carter, you're up first.
I would absolutely support more oversight for the Department of Transportation. We see it here locally that our roads are not being fixed. They are not being fixed in a manageable way, and they are not being done in a time frame that actually helps the people in this district. And so I would support that, and for me, what that would look like is making sure that we have someone that is the head of the DOT who is doing their job appropriately, and it appears that our leadership is not doing the job the way that it should be done.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Mr. Lester?
I do support more oversight with a caveat, a lot more local input, back and forth, a lot more collaborative system. What I'm going to mention, what Casey said is accurate, and we need to have more oversight, but it needs to be a balanced oversight where it's not completely top down. And I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Mr. Robertson?
I would go as far as to say oversight, even more, we need to restructure the way Aldott operates. Been in many meetings this last 4 years where Aldott was keeping a business from coming into Alabama. There's not a lot of negotiation we have with them. We can put pressure on them a little bit, but other than that, they can take their ball and walk at any time. And I hear it, I would say 50 to 60% of my calls are to do with Aldott and the way a business or even private entity or a person has been wrong, they feel, or from a policy that Aldott has brought forth. So I think a whole restructure is needed. I'm thinking with our new governor coming in, I think something to that effect would happen. And looking forward to that, because I do feel like, two things you can get to bring in businesses to any state or any country is reduce regulations and reduce taxes. And that'll bring businesses in. Aldott, to me, is one of those regulations that we need to restructure and make it benefit our businesses instead of going against them. So that's my idea on that.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Ms. Howard?
I think we all agree on this. I also agree that there should be more oversight and representation from every district. Maybe not every legislative district, but maybe every congressional district. A lot of the investment in infrastructure and where LDOT gets involved is in our largest cities in Alabama, and communities like District 40 get left behind. I'm amazed at how long it's been taking for funding to come in for the bridge on County Road 10 in Cleveland County. I'm amazed at the fact that we aren't having the roads brought in for us to be able to build and bring in new industry. So I do agree there needs to be oversight. I like the idea of restructure, but there's got to be representation from every district, especially more from rural communities.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Mr. McAdams?
Well, I think we simply just need to refine the process. They drag things out for months and months and months or years at some point, and that's costing you money. It's costing me money. So just simply refine the process. As a general contractor, that's what I do. I look for the most efficient way to get things done for the client, number one. Let's say on the budget. Simplify the process. Don't make it so difficult. You have to find means and other avenues to collect money. There are bridge investment programs or grants that we get from the federal government. There's a raise discretionary fund. There's the surface transportation pilot programs. There are the rural surface transportation grants that we can go after. There's community reconnecting pilot programs. There's also emergency relief funds that we can do. Or an ER fund. There's other ways to get money to get things done, but I think we need to bring in other businesses. They sub everything out anyway. So we need to shrink the government in that respect and bring in more industry into this state. Casinos aren't going to get it done, but small business owners can. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. McAdams. All right, our next question. This is a decisions that this is a decision for most legislators that they face. What is the one issue that you would feel strongly enough about to raise taxes upon the taxpayers that elected you? Good luck, Mr. Lester, you're up first.
Nothing. there's absolutely nothing, I'll take a couple more seconds. But yeah, absolutely nothing that I can think of, outside of some national level beyond belief emergency that I've seen in some of the scenarios that could be drawn. But I think we absolutely have to keep money in the hands of individuals, and there needs to be state and economic development, and it occurs best when it occurs within the individuals making economic decisions. I lied.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson.
Repeat the question one more time, please. Just, I kind of got lost in what you said.
This is a decision for that most legislators face. What is the one issue that you feel strongly enough about to raise taxes upon the taxpayers that elected you?
Okay. The last 4 years, I'm not raising one tax. Don't plan to. When we reduced the budget or the taxes in Alabama by $1.5 billion, we slashed the grocery tax in half. It's the way that bill is designed. It will go down to zero as the economy comes up and we're growing. So I see no need to add a tax. If we keep reducing taxes, as Pam was saying though, you don't want to lose services. So there are a few services that I do not want to lose due to reducing the taxes so much, and that's school choice. A lot of that money goes to that, and police and EMS services, things like that. So we got to be careful. In the last 4 years, every year we have a balanced budget since I've been there. A lot of states can't say that. We're very fiscally responsible, and we're continuing to grow in Alabama. And like Bill said, as that happens, revenue from taxes will rise, even at the low state that we have them. We're number 2 right now in property tax in the nation, lowest property tax in the nation. And so I don't see any need to ever raise a tax.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Ms. Howard?
Of course, we do not want to raise taxes on the people who elect us. That would be very difficult to explain. But we also have to fund all of our public needs. I don't think I can think of something where I would raise taxes on anyone in this room, but I would want to take a look at the tax subsidies we give to some industry that comes into Alabama and make sure we're giving the biggest benefits to the people who benefit our communities the most. Making sure the tax breaks go to the companies who are employing Alabamians and not bringing in their own people. To the places that are making the most jobs, they get the biggest tax subsidies. So I think if I had to adjust anything, that would be to restructure some of the benefits that we're giving to new business that comes into Alabama. I want them here, but I also don't want it to be a free ride for them while we're struggling.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Mr. McAdams?
Well, in that situation, to raise revenues, what I would do is cut expenses. There's no need for new taxes. As a conservative, I want the smallest possible government that we could have. I want strong law enforcement and a great education. Those are the 2 key anchors that hold this thing together. You have to have safety and you have to have smart people. Let's focus on that, and we can deal with the rest later. But if you don't have those 2, you can't. If you don't have a good education, you're not going to have to worry about the rest of it because you lose it anyway. But yeah, if you want to save money, you cut expenses. I want a smaller government. It's going to upset some folks, but it takes what it takes.
Thank you, Mr. McAdams. Ms. Carey?
I would not support an increase in taxes for any reason. The people of Alabama in District 40, we live with a budget. We know how much money we make every month, and we have to live within our means, and the government should do the same. And I want to say in response to the grocery tax comment that the grocery tax was not eliminated and it will not continue to be reduced. And that legislation that was passed in 2025 to correct the grocery tax, it did not include provisions to continue to allow that percentage to be reduced. And so I think the people deserve the honest truth about that matter.
All right. The next question is, what is your position on school choice, charter schools, and education savings accounts? And Mr. Robertson, you're up first.
Could you repeat that one? Sorry.
Yes. What is your position on school choice, charter schools, and education savings accounts?
Well, we voted in school choice. I voted for it. I think it's done good. I think our parents deserve the right to pick the education that fits their kids' needs, whether that be a private school, charter school, homeschooling, or it's another public school within their means of transportation to get them there. So I think with the way we're headed in Alabama, our concentration on workforce development, the way we're trying to push students into, I wouldn't say push students, but make light to them that there are other opportunities to go instead of just college. I think the way we're doing public education now is headed that way, and I think it's going to grow our workforce too. So that's my answer. We've been working on that, and I support all those.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Ms. Howard?
I am opposed to the school choice bill. I think our tax dollars from the public should stay in our public schools, and we need to invest in them. We need to make sure that we pay our teachers enough money that they don't have to work 2 jobs. I think that we need to invest in trade schools and build a workforce. But as I understand the school choice bill, after the next school year, the income tax comes off. So every wealthy family in Mountain Brook who sends their child to public or to private school will get a $7,000 a year tax rebate, and that's going to come out of the schools in Cleveland County. I don't think that's the right way to balance an education budget. I think that education is our greatest tool to building the future of Alabama, and I want my tax dollars to stay in our public schools.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Mr. McAdams?
Education's education. It doesn't bother me where you get it, as long as you can help build this.
I'm sorry, Jimmy. That's my wife. Education is education, and it doesn't, as long as you get it, as long as it's something that can be applied to make our communities better and Alabama stronger, hey, more power to you, because, once you get that education, the chances are you're gonna bring whatever, income you have, if you stay in the state, if you choose to, that income's gonna stay with it. So think long term. We can't think in a box here, but we have to think 20, 30, 40 years out what the products are gonna be and what those products are gonna produce. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. McAdams. Ms. Campbell?
Yes, I absolutely support school choice. I'm a homeschooler myself. I have 4 children and only 3 are old enough to be homeschooled, but that is a decision that we made as a family and we really enjoy it. School choice is important to everyone. Your tax dollars are paid in without your choice. You do not have an option to pay in or not. And so those tax dollars should follow your child to the school of your choice. This is a decision that belongs with the family because we do not co-parent with the government. Now, when it came to what was said about the money being taken from public schools, none of the money that went towards the CHOOSE Act took away from the public schools in any way. No money was removed from the public school systems in order to fund the CHOOSE Act. And so that's important to note. But again, end of the day, those decisions belong with the family, and that our tax dollars should follow our students to the school of their choice.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Mr. Lester?
I've spent a large portion of my life in education. I'm a certified, have a lifetime certificate as a public school teacher. A lot of people, unfortunately, will know the school district that I worked in Texas many years ago. I've been in Alabama now for 21 years, but I worked in the Uvalde Independent School District. So I have seen a lot of things happen with education. The freshmen we have coming in at Jacksonville State years ago, up until last year when I retired from Jacksonville State. As I've heard, education is education. I want the best education that we can possibly get for our children, and I don't see that as coming best in a monopolistic situation. Now, with that said, it depends on the bill. It depends on the bill that comes forward. It depends on what we ultimately end up with in Alabama, and we're not locked in necessarily on anything. One thing I hear about the public school situation is, money taken away from the public school. Not really, if you think of it, because it's never the amount per pupil that it was going to be that goes with these scholarships or new funding. So what you actually get is more money per pupil in the public education system when this happens. The majority of our students are always going to be in public education. We have to do the best we can. We have to support teachers at every level. And so I do support education choice, but we have a lot of work to do in Alabama on it.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. All right, our next question is, how should the state address teacher recruitment and retention challenges? And Ms. Howard, you're up first.
I think it starts with teacher pay, teacher benefits, making sure we take care of the retired teachers, because that is what all of our educators are going to look at. We need to make sure that we control class size, give them the resources that they need. Educating the young people in the community is our future, and we have to invest in it. A lot of teachers have left to go to Georgia because they get paid more. Some of that comes back to having an education lottery. Money doesn't just come from nowhere, but our teachers, teaching is a calling. It's not a career path that people get into to become wealthy, but they deserve to have a good life, and they shouldn't be struggling, and they shouldn't have to pay for their classroom supplies themselves and then be told they can't write it off on their taxes. We don't treasure our teachers. They help us build our community, and I think that that should be a focus of our government, to make sure we take care of the people that are building our future.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Mr. McAdams.
Completely rebuild that thing from the ground up. Teachers have been teaching for 30 plus years and haven't had a cost of living adjustment in 20 years. That's a problem. That's not something you're going to fix from the top down. That's something you're going to build from the bottom up. So you're going to have to tear that system completely down and rebuild it, because it's obvious that it doesn't work. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. McAdams. Ms. Cameron.
Yes, I would agree with you that we need to take a deep look at how our schools are run. I am my co-owner of my gymnastics facility, and several of my employees that work for me are teachers in the public school system. And what I've found, especially with those who are working with children with disabilities or who have special needs, one teacher that I talked to had 25 IEPs. That is a lot for one person to handle. And so we have children who have needs, and teachers who do not have the resources, the time, or the ability to meet the needs of these students. And so I agree that we need to take a look at this from the top down and reapproach how we treat education and our teachers in Alabama.
Thank you, Ms. Cameron. Mr. Lester.
A little bit larger take at this. We've done pretty well with the budget in the last few years, but we could do better. But does everyone realize that 32% roughly of the money that is coming to the state, whether it's at the state level or the local level, came from the federal government recently? But we're about to lose a lot of the Biden money that came out. We have some really hard decisions to make. We're gonna have to prioritize these decisions. I would put education right at the top of the priority list. It may be that some other things would have to go down. I once was told by someone who was one of my mentors growing up that you can do anything, but you can't do everything. This is one of the anythings that we need to do. I've heard COLA's brought up. Yes. I'm in the TRS system as a retiree from JSU. I have a retirement amount coming in. As things currently stand, it will never go up. What will happen is it will go down due to inflation every year. And I'm in a good position compared to a lot of people who've put in a lot of years. We have to do better, and I can say what they said so far, but we have to do better.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Mr. Robertson.
Yes, could you repeat that one more time, because I think we kind of got off a little bit of what the main thought.
What changes, if any, would you support? Let me rephrase. How should the state address teacher recruitment and retention challenges?
Okay. Just on education, we kind of got off on that. A little bit of education. We've moved from second and fourth in reading and math in the last 4 years since the pandemic. What we're doing is working. I've never been a component of saying, you can throw money at everything. And money doesn't fix everything. You see these successful schools. I get to travel the state and look at and walk through different schools. The ones that are successful have the communities behind them. The parents are involved in their education. They know the teachers. They keep a conversation with the teachers. That's what brings the education into a better light and to get us to grow that. As far as teacher retention and keeping them, they're worth the money we pay for them. I'm not sure where we rank, but we're pretty high in highest paid teachers in the nation. I see this a lot in Cleveland County, not sure in Calhoun, but have people leaving after they retire and going to Georgia or vice versa. We got to keep them here at that age. We got to fix a way that they can stay in Alabama, teach, and contribute to the retirement system again, and maybe move on from that. But that's one of the ways. I was getting buzzed.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. The next question that we have, what changes, if any, would you support to improve K through 12 education in Alabama? And Mr. McAdams, you're up first.
Well, I just discussed that. I would tear the thing down and rebuild it. I mean, the whole entire educational system needs to be rebuilt. We've had more money in the past few years than we've ever had. We're still having issues. So obviously, it's like I say, you can't rebuild this thing from the top down, and that's what we're trying to patch, put Band-Aids on Band-Aids, and that's not how success works. It starts at the ground level. So everything that's been built on top of what we continue to try to fix needs to be completely restructured. And that's why I say it's going to cause an extreme amount of pain for people that have made careers out of politics in Montgomery. If I'm given the opportunity to do this, it's going to hurt some feelings. I mean, it's what I do for a living. If someone is not getting a job done, things need to happen and they need to change immediately. You can't just stick around and keep tossing money at it. We got money here, money there. You make changes, you make personnel changes. People that used to work for the government may not work for the government anymore. And those are tough decisions to make, but they have to be made.
Thank you, Mr. McAdams. Ms. Cannon.
For me, as a homeschooling mom, one of the things that I've noticed in my own children is that you have to meet the students where they're at. And just as an observer from the outside, as someone who works with hundreds of students every single month that are within the public school system, is they're being tested beyond the points that they can handle anymore. And these tests are not improving the education, it is just showing a glimpse of where they're at. And so I think one of the ways that we improve the education of these students is stop putting them in a box and reproduce our system to allow these students to be met where they're at. Not necessarily hold them back, but meet them where they're at in the grade level that they're at. And that requires more teachers. And so that's something we have to invest in. We have to invest in our teachers, having the resources and being there to be able to split these students up according to the actual level that they are in their language arts or their math or whatever class they're in, and stop putting them into one mold, because we know as humans we're not all one size fits all. And so that would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Ms. Cameron. Mr. Lester.
I meet with hundreds and hundreds of school teachers every year. I am on the National AP Exam Committee that puts together the actual exam that American students take for American government. I'm one of 3 professors on the committee with a lot of high school teachers, some of the best in the world. I wish I had had some of these teachers growing up. I'll be in Cincinnati at the end of May, but I am committed to that, and I'm going because I love meeting with the teachers and hearing what they have to say. It comes down to a lot of what my colleagues are saying. If we prize them, we'll pay them better. It needs to be more teacher-centric. I was hearing from one of them the other day, in a book that I read also, that there was 1 million students in one of these public school systems. They had 250,000 administrators. The person writing this book called and asked a private school system of 250,000 students, which was big, how many administrators do you have? The person they were speaking to on the phone said, just a minute, let me put the phone down and count. There are some good things that we need to work on at a time to talk to people afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Mr. Robertson.
Well, like I said, I think our numbers are coming up in Alabama. Our education is working for us. Again, I will say, do I think we're paying a lot for it? Yes, we are. It's worth it, but I don't think that's the only thing that can fix it. Again, community involvement, getting the parents involved with it. But the job is getting done, I think, and you look in Alabama, we're growing. We need a workforce. We're going to have jobs for those kids when they get out. That education needs to suit that. Casey mentioned, how we need to meet the kids there in their space where they are. We've done that with school choice. We've given them an option to pick, and their parents to pick where they need to go to school. So we're headed in the right direction. I believe we are. I don't think there needs to be a restructure. I think there's some fat that we could cut out from it, and I think some of the curriculum is going to change as we work on this workforce development problem that we had. I think that's coming out of. It's not a problem anymore. I think we're on it. So, but no restructure. I don't think. I think we're doing great.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Ms. Howard.
K through 12 is a pretty wide area for things to look at when it comes to education. In the earliest grades, we are raising not just people who know math and English and spelling, but good little people. I think it's important that we make sure every student has recess. I think they need to develop social skills. I think that our teachers should have teacher aides because our classrooms have become more crowded and they need personal attention. So either smaller classrooms or more help for the teachers. Parent involvement is important, a strong PTA. Unfortunately, because wages are low, we have a lot of families where parents are all both working 2 jobs and they're paying somebody else to take care of their kids. So that is a broad problem. I think in the middle school ages and high school, we need to work to bring back more arts and music. I know that was an important part of my education, an important part of building my personality, my confidence, my empathy. And we have changed to where our schools are teaching students to pass tests. Not every person has the same IQ or the same interests. We also should expand trade school from grade 8 up and start for the people who aren't going to go to high-paying tech jobs to build our communities. That would be the changes I would make.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Our next question is a little bit lengthy, so if you need me to repeat it, I will. Alabama jails are full and overcrowded. Local agency jails are much the same. Do you have a plan to address this problem area and the cost the taxpayers? Please explain where the funding would come from. Do I need to read it again? I'll read it again. Alabama jails are full and overcrowded. Local agency jails are much the same. Do you have a plan to address this problem area and the cost that taxpayers may have? Please explain where the funding would come from. And Ms. Cavender, you're up first.
Yes, we do have an issue with that, and one of the ways that I think that we can start to address it, it would take a lot to really dive into our prisons and to our local jails, but one of the things we can do is look at our criminal code and see where we have charges brought against people who are not violent crimes, who are not issues for which we should be putting people in jail at the taxpayer cost. So that is one of the things that I have started to look at. I have a lot more research to do on that, but that is one of the main ways that I think we can start to get some people out of the system, and that way it frees up some of the money and some of the resources that we're using.
Thank you, Ms. Cavender. Mr. Lester.
Well, dangerous people definitely need to be locked up, but we do have overcrowding. I also have been a youth pastor. It's been an interesting combination, a youth pastor and an academic professor, lots of other things I could talk about as well. But I don't know that a lot of this is necessarily going to be government-based. As a society, we need to reach out to our young people. Can I just say, every one of us ought to be mentoring and helping someone, doing your best. I could tell you story after story after story of young people who, with the early intervention, through some of the ministries, and even prison ministries I've been involved with, have been able to reroute their life and head into just incredible, wonderful areas outside of anything we do as politicians or running for office. And I think that's important. I think a lot of times maybe government gets out of the way, but one of the things that government can do, and I agree with what's been said thus far, some of the crimes that we send people to jail for, it would be better to spend some time talking to them, whether it's a non-ministry or ministry situations, counseling, some other areas that we could work with.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Roberts.
I agree with Bill. We've got to keep the monsters in there that deserve to be in there. Recently was able to co-sponsor a bill that put people who rape children under 12 on death row. Then, we're working on getting those bad people in there. The room to put them in there, we've got a prison that's being built right now. It was ordered 3 years ago, I believe. They've been working on it. That'll ease some of that tension. But one of the things I was able to do too, I created an accountability courts law to expand veterans courts and things of that nature. It allows for veterans there's other courts that can be caused under this or created under this, but the veterans are able to go to these courts and stay out of jail. They're able to work and stay with their families and start getting back on the right path. They're plugged into a way that they can get help from the VA that they didn't know they had or they were not aware. And it gives them a solution and a pathway back to doing good things again and being that good constituent, that good citizen that they once were. And they're heroes. So there's that.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Ms. Howard.
It's a huge problem, our prison system in Alabama. As far as local jails go, I'm not sure how much influence the state legislature can have on those issues. But we need to move away from being an incarceration system to a rehabilitation system. And with that, that's how we cut recidivism, and that's how we cut the population in our prisons. That will bring the cost down. Instead of having to find more money, we help people become part of our community. We should be looking at our pardon and parole programs. There are a lot of people who aren't getting fair hearings, who aren't being released because we have for-profit prisons. I think we need to go back to people who were convicted of crimes when the 3-strike rule was in. These people are in their 70s and we've still got them locked up, and that doesn't serve anyone. I'm not talking about the dangerous criminals who deserve to be there. We need to do that, I understand. I think the rehabilitation system needs to have job skills, training, so that they have a way to support themselves when they come out, and drug treatment plans. I think we need to know people make mistakes. People do things wrong. They deserve to pay for the crime, but we need to give them the opportunity of a life besides prison after they get out.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Mr. McAdams.
If you want to empty prisons, you're going to need to fill up classrooms, basically, which means you're going to have to invest more in education. Just like I said from the beginning, you need strong law enforcement and you need strong education. A better educated person will make better decisions. It's just basic common sense. You make better decisions financially, probably better health decisions, because you have a better education. And that's how you stay out of prison. That's how you stay out of jail. Don't run stop signs. It says stop. How did you know that? Because I had an education. I could read. S-T-O-P. It all starts. It all stems back at the beginning. We have to focus on keep the main thing the main thing. And don't make this so difficult. People need to be taught. People need to be loved. The prison oftentimes is right up here. That's where these people in prison at. They don't understand. They need help. They need a neighbor. That's what we're supposed to be. It's not all about politics. It's about taking care of your neighbor.
no matter what they look like, no matter who it is. Empty prisons, more classrooms.
Thank you, Mr. McAdams. The next question, emergency medical services in rural areas are not very available in all cases. Should this be a state concern? If so, what is the solution? And Mr. Lester, you're first.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you to repeat, please.
Yes, sir. Emergency medical services in rural areas are not always very available. Should this be a state concern? If so, what is the solution?
Yeah. Absolutely. It should be a state concern. There are areas of Alabama and frankly rural zones across the country that are deserts when it comes to emergency response. Can't get into a lot of detail in the time we have left. I am an emergency response expert. I spent time with that. Post-Katrina, I spent time walking around with Admiral Allen in Katrina. I spent time with FEMA directors talking about things that need to be done. I was asked by the American Society for Public Administration to write a book on the topic. I put it down. The whole book is about what to do. It's not theoretical. It's things that need to happen. And part of the problem is, we know this in Jacksonville, right? You don't know where a tornado's gonna hit. You don't know where flood's gonna hit. My goodness, we've seen fires recently. The state has to come in and there has to be expenditures in this area that don't match tax revenues that come in from those areas sometimes, because it's that important. There's life or death. If you're on top of a house and it's flooding, you want to get off the top of the roof of the house as quickly as possible. You don't want the most cost-efficient way to get off the roof. And the state has absolutely got a role in this.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Mr. Robertson.
I believe it is a state problem. We've dealt with it this last 4 years. We passed some legislation recently that would ease up on rural EMS services, changing some of the things they are required to do, some of the codings they can use in their insurance things. They don't have to transport, things like that. They run into wait times at the hospitals. So there's a lot of things we can help with. The rural areas are hit the worst. And I think you just got to pick apart the problem and seeing what an ambulance costs a lot of money. And if you're having to take that thing out and go check somebody's blood pressure, and that's all you're doing, you're occupying that vehicle, you've got to charge them. A lot of times they can't pay that. So you got to figure out other ways. Do you take the ambulance and something like that? Can we filter out those calls that are fatal or not? Those are things we need to look at, and we're starting to look at them to fix those.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Ms. Howard.
Rural health care is a huge issue in Alabama. We lost 2 more rural hospitals so far this year. We're looking at losing over 20 more. We know we lost the Jacksonville hospital. The reason we lose so many healthcare places is because people don't have insurance. So they go to an emergency room because they know they won't be denied care, and then they can't pay their bill. What we need to do is expand Medicaid. We need to make sure that there is healthcare coverage, and if people can pay their bills, the hospitals can afford the emergency service that they need. It is ridiculous that people would have to drive an hour and a half to get somewhere with good care, because an hour and a half in an ambulance is probably an hour too long for a lot of the medical emergencies. I think it's a funding issue that we have to look at. We know federal dollars are going to change, but we have to build our healthcare system. It's part of building our community. We want our young people to stay here. We want to keep our nursing homes open. It's all about funding. And if you have it funding, then you can attract more physicians to the area, and there's more people to provide the services. I hate to say it all comes down to money, but it really does. So I think the state can help a lot with that issue.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Mr. McAdams.
Well, I was in the volunteer fire service for 11 years, and I was fire chief for 4 of those years in White Plains, and I've been out on calls, I don't know how many times, but sometimes we sit there 20, 30, 40 minutes waiting on an EMS service. And then, you know, what do we do? Do we just not service the area? Why is it always a problem? Why is money always a problem? I mean, these people who ride ambulances are extremely expensive. You got the liability insurance and everything that goes with that. But it should never be a problem when it comes to human life. Our government prints $540 million in cash every single day, and we can't take somebody to the hospital. We're whining and crying about that. We're $39 trillion in debt, and we're whining about carrying someone to the hospital that needs help. I mean, come on. This is America. They don't want a solution. That's why. I think whoever mandates the call, you should pony up and pay the bill. Whoever mandates you, run the service, run the call, no matter what it is, you just paid for that. You made that decision. So there's no excuse. That's why I say we have to rebuild this thing from the bottom up. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. McCombs. Ms. Carter.
This legislative session, the legislature did pass a bill that would allow ambulances and EMS to finally be reimbursed for their services. So something that I learned through this process is that prior to this legislation, if an ambulance was called out to the scene, that if that person chose not to be transported to the hospital or chose not to be treated, that ambulance service did not receive payment for their services. And so oftentimes we have EMS that is barely breaking even, and so it is my hope that this legislation is going to help them be able to recuperate some of the cost of running EMS, which is going to allow them to expand their services. But we also need to improve our roads so that they can get to these calls quickly. We need to make sure that our bridges are built quicker and are more stable. And then also one other thing that I've thought about is how we can remove some of the barriers for our healthcare providers, our nurses, our midwives, family physicians, and others. They have restrictions and requirements on them that do not allow them to step outside of their typical work requirements. And so if we can alleviate some of those barriers to allow them to be able to respond to calls, it will help a lot with our EMS and our firefighters being able to get to the scenes and help people when they need it.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. All right, this will be our last question. We've about exhausted our time, and it's a long one. So if you need me to repeat it, I will. And if you So mental health and addiction is a problem we face. Much of the homelessness comes from these groups, and much of the jail overcrowding also. What is the role you see as a legislator to resolve these issues, or at least vastly improve the situation? And I'll read it one more time. Mental health and addiction is a problem we face. Much of the homeless come from these groups, and much of the jail overcrowding also. What is the role you see as a legislator to resolve these issues, or at least vastly improve this situation? And Mr. Robertson, you're up first.
And it requires a long answer. I don't think I can answer in 1 minute and 30 seconds. But no, we need to do, mental health is rampant in Alabama. There's not an easy fix on that. A lot of the things that people are acting out on, they get medication for, and they start feeling better again, and they stop taking their medication. And then they start maybe self-medicating another way. We've got to get a place. My brother was a probate judge and had to commit people pretty regularly. One of the concerns that he had, there was no place to send them. We've got to get facilities back in Alabama to treat these people and to get them back to where, again, that they can positively benefit our community. Because a lot of them, I said that they're self-medicating and they're acting out or whatever, and it can be treated, but we've got to get them to the treatment a lot of times. So I think the facilities need to be looked at, and there's a lot more complexity to that. that problem. But if y'all want, I'll talk with you later on that, but.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Ms. Howard?
Alabama basically shut down mental health care in this state a long time ago, and it has to be rebuilt. Mental health care isn't all about addiction, it's also about disease. The communities have to have ways to help the people who have these issues and these illnesses. It's money, and I know we keep going back to that, but like Mr. McAdams said, this is people's health. What we can't do is keep putting it in the hands of law enforcement. They pick people up that have true issues and they put them in a jail. That doesn't help anybody, and law enforcement is not trained to help those people. We've got to build the facilities and invest in the care. It's not anything that's going to go away, so it's something we need to work on and get ahead of.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Mr. McAdams?
Here we go again with education. It all goes back to the beginning. If you want to start tearing down prisons, you educate people better. That's where it all starts. It all starts at the beginning. You have to invest in education. Well, where are we going to get the money? It doesn't matter where we get the money. We have to invest in education. If you don't want these issues 20, 30, 40 years down the road in our man or woman's life, if they were better educated than day one, since day one, no matter where they get the education, chances are they're going to make a different decision somewhere down the line that doesn't take them down the path that got them into that position in the first place. We have to start. This is the most archaic government I think I've ever seen. Alabama has the longest constitution in this world out of all the countries combined. All of them. Over 400,000 words. That's a problem. We're governing backwards into the Stone Age because we're micromanaging the state in reverse. Okay? We need to educate our people better, basically. And don't have all this centralized power in Montgomery. Let the local people govern their communities. Take care of your people. Take care of your neighbors. Educate them better. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. McAdams. Ms. Cameron?
There is no quick fix for the mental health issues that we're seeing here in Alabama, but I think that something that is a long-term solution is to get back to the roots of it all. It all starts at the family, and the way that our tax system is set up, the way that our government is set up, is we incentivize broken families. We have people going into the jail system who get held there for a long time, and it breaks up the system for, like we talked about earlier, minor criminal activities that have nothing that is serious. And so we really have to take a look at incentivizing families to stay together. And when we see strong families, we see strong children, we see strong adults who are active participants in the society and actually lead to a better society as a whole. And so that's one thing that I think we need to do is incentivize families, get back to the roots of starting at home, and stop pushing medication as the only solution. We need mental health facilities that look beyond just giving a medication. Get to the root of the issue and see how we can genuinely help people with real solutions.
Thank you, Ms. Cameron. Mr. Lester?
Real quick off-ramp on the Constitution, interestingly, Bill. Alabama's number 1, Texas is number 2. That could be a lot of things, right? If you double, by the way, those are the 2 longest constitutions in human history. You double the Texas Constitution, Alabama's still number 1. Off to the side on this, mental health. We have homelessness here in Jacksonville. I mean, it surrounds us. There's a direct connection to prison overcrowding. What's the answer? Well, one thing, if I'm honored with being the representative for this area, I'll tell you the truth. There's a 32% drop coming. We're going to have a very tough time figuring this out. We're going to have to put people in place who are thinking about public budgets and priorities. We've got to do this. This is a priority. You know, you can't say everything's a priority. This has to be one of them to keep prison overcrowding down. One of the solutions, potentially, it's got to be a collaborative solution. I think Chad said, you're going to talk to me, right? We all need to talk about this. We got to get to the table on this. Collaborative solution. Nonprofits. Do your best with nonprofits. Help me with that. I've written lots of grants. I can help in that area. There's lots of ways to do this. Just everybody on board for this.
Thank you, Mr. Cameron. Mr. Lester? Well, we didn't come anywhere near just all our questions tonight. Our time's got the best of us tonight. But now we're to the point to where we have closing statements from each candidate. They have 2 minutes for this. And Ms. Howard, you're up first.
First, I want to thank the Chamber for setting this up and letting us have the opportunity to speak to our community. I think everybody here is running for this office because we care about the community. We want to be part of making it better. I believe that if you want to live in an amazing community, you have to be part of making it amazing. I have volunteered for years with different organizations, 5 years on the board of Second Chance Domestic Violence Shelter, for the last 3 years as president. I work with Great Things in Jacksonville, and we've done some amazing community projects. I believe it takes the work of every citizen to make the community the best it can be, and I'm proud to do that work. I have lobbied in Montgomery for the grocery tax with Alabama Arise and for Medicaid expansion with Cover Alabama. I have lobbied for our waterways with the River Keepers, and I believe that we have to use our voices and we have to use our energy to make our community the best. I will not be on a primary ballot. I am the Democratic nominee, so I will be on the November ballot. I'm asking for the opportunity to work for you. I'm asking for your vote November 3rd, and I promise you I will be committed to making District 40 the very best that it can be.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Mr. McAdams.
I think I've about said everything, but as a conservative, all I want to do is shrink this government. It's so bloated, and we are essentially this state is governing backwards, it seems. Nobody really wants to take a look at it. They're afraid of losing face or losing office. Nobody's going to vote for me again, and I really don't care. This is not about me losing friends or you liking me. This is about actual change that's really going to change the direction and trajectory of this state. I understand what it's going to take to do it. It's going to require some pain, but generally some things in life, when you really choose to make a real change in your personal life, no matter what it might be, it normally is going to require just a touch of pain. And that's in order for this government to be, redirected and set the course right. Some major changes are going to have to occur. Right now, it's basically like riding on the Titanic. It doesn't matter where you sit. We're still headed to the bottom of the ocean. And no, it's not money. It isn't money that's going to fix this thing, but I understand how to get some things done. We need to get rid of this grocery tax completely. There's no sense. It's the most disproportionate tax in the history of man. And the local property taxes on folks that are 65 and above, that needs to go too. And there's 2 or 3 methods that we could do this. For everybody that's under 65, you could contribute $1 a week, and that would remove all the county taxes for those claiming exemptions above 65. There's roughly 65,000 accounts in Calhoun County, 11,000 of those are seniors that are claiming. But we could eliminate all of that because Social Security is being depleted. We need to help these people. People need relief right now in Alabama. Not 4 years down the road, not 8 years down the road. People need help right now. And that's what I'm here to do, and I understand how to do it. So please, I'm asking for your vote. Bill McAdams, on the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. McAdams. Ms. Cavender.
So I've spent the last 13 years of my life going to Montgomery on my own dime and in my own time, and many legislators remember me from a large portion of the time at the beginning of this, of going to Montgomery with babies strapped to me about issues that are impacting the people of Alabama and our district that I felt that I could go and make a difference. And I've been very effective just from the outside. I helped legalize midwives. I wrote the law and helped get that passed to make midwives legal because we used to prosecute them here. I helped fight for educational freedom, for constitutional carry, and I fought for many, many other issues that are real-world solutions for the people in this district. And I know that I can be much more effective on the inside where I'm writing my own legislation and I'm pushing for it in the same way that I've been pushing for the last 13 years. And so I would be honored to have the vote of the people of District 40 to be a true representative who reads the bills and knows how to push them and get them through despite all odds. I have the experience to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cavender. Mr. Lester.
Yeah, I want to say thanks to the Chamber for doing this. Gives everyone an opportunity to speak and to hear the candidates for the office. I'm a fairly private person. That I'm even doing this is kind of strange to me sometimes. Even, I don't know about some of you who drive around and seeing your name on a sign. Is that weird to anybody? But I'm willing to serve. I'm willing to do this. I'm a husband to my wife Sharon, nearly 36 years. Father, 7 children. We've got a lot of skin in the game. Grandfather, it's just now beginning that way. We spent 21 years in Jacksonville. I was a youth pastor for over 25 years. I've honestly poured myself out for the young people of Alabama and other places that I've served. As I told you earlier, I'm a disaster response expert, and I know that that means something here in Jacksonville. I remember sending off the manuscript for the book and going, great, that's fantastic. And then my home got hit by an EF3 tornado close to the Sun Center a few years ago. I worked alongside people trying to help with that. I would bring that to here. Retired JSU professor, 21 years. I've trained some of the people that staff county and city governments around the state. People don't know a lot of this, but I was also the director at Northwestern University for the public policy program in Chicago. I would actually fly to Chicago. I did not want to live in Chicago. I wanted to live here. So they would fly me there. I have trained some of the people you see on TV. I will not use their names, but they're there, and I was part of their background, some of the conservative people that you see. I will do this full time. I have set everything aside. Once it hits in November, if I'm honored with that, you will get me 100% of the time doing the best that I can. May 19th, with our friends or any of the other good people on this panel, please vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Mr. Robertson.
First off, I want to say thank you to the chamber and everybody that came to give us your time and to learn more about us. It's been an honor to serve y'all the last 4 years, and during that time we've reduced taxes $1.5 billion. We've slashed the grocery tax in half, and it will continue to go to zero. The death penalty for predators that rape children. So we're working on making Alabama safer. I was able to carry the accountability courts bill. It strengthened our court system all through Alabama. The school choice, we brought that to Alabama. That is working, and it gives people a choice to pick the education they need for their children. With that, we pounded hard on workforce development, and you can see that in our area with Create. We were able to secure money for that. We were able to get money into junior colleges to create pathways for our students so they'd be ready to go to work. For these jobs that are coming into Alabama, Alabama is growing. We're the number 4 in the nation for people moving into Alabama. They're not moving here because, let's pick the state that is awful to live in. They're picking because of their opportunity, and they're coming here. And we're doing great, and we've got things going on up north, down south. We're growing. You can see local growth here. I guess I'm very blessed to say that I've done this for 4 years. I want to keep doing it. I am the one on the panel that can actually say that I have done some of this stuff and not what I want to do. So I appreciate you to please vote for me on May 19th and let me continue to keep working for Alabama.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. At this time, I want to thank the City of Jacksonville for hosting this event tonight, and Jacksonville Police Department for being here for us as well. The Cannon County Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Linda Hearn is here. She's over that, and would love, if you're not a member of the chamber, for you to come be a member of the chamber. I'd like to thank Mr. Henry Molinax for keeping time for us tonight. I appreciate the honor and the privilege for being to serve as your moderator tonight. And with that, we thank you for being here. And let's give everyone a big hand, please, before we go. And
sure the candidates would be willing to stand around for a few minutes if you'd like to ask them some other questions. So thank you for.
They cut your mic.
And we forgot Pam's close. No, she
She was first one. Okay, we know somebody's taking a nap. All right. So we thank all y'all for being here. Y'all have a good night and safe trip home. Thank you.